What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Sky Talk Sports. It is week 4, and it is time for our Thursday pick'em. We're going to go through the top 25 teams, or the top 25 AP poll that ESPN puts out on their list every week, and we're going to add in also the Texas A&M versus Auburn game because neither one of those teams are in the top 25, but, you know, I'm a diehard Aggie, so I've got to do that one. We'll jump in, and hey, beginning of conference play really this week. It really kicks it off. Last week, we talked about it was a rough slate last week. However, some good games were played. This week, it really starts mattering. And you've got some big SEC games, so we're going to see if it really does mean more. Started off, though, you're in the Big Ten. You got Rutgers and Michigan. Michigan is giving up 24 points on the line in that game. I know that it should be a blowout, all right? However, Rutgers is playing, even though they haven't played anybody, Rutgers is playing pretty good ball right now. I don't think Michigan beats them by 24. I'm going to take Rutgers plus 24 in that game. Second game, Florida State versus Clemson, and Florida State is giving up 2 points. I don't know what Vegas is seeing in that one. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Last week, Florida State coming off a close win over Boston College, but it was the red bandana game over at Boston College. They were playing for more than just football right there. Florida State, I still have at the top of all of college football right now. I think Florida State goes ahead and ends Dabo and the whole Clemson run. I think this is the year of the Clemson downfall. Florida State, -2. They're going to blow Clemson out of the water. Third game, Oklahoma, Cincinnati. Oklahoma has to give up 14.5 on that one. I still think they pull it off. Oklahoma is playing fast right now. They have speed like they used to have. I think Venables has really lit a fire, especially I think a fire got lit under Venables, and then he took the fire and he put it underneath the team. And I really think they've kicked it off. I think here in a couple weeks we're going to have a really fun game when the Red River Shootout happens, and it's the first time in a long time we've seen Oklahoma and Texas undefeated going into that game. So I will take Oklahoma. Even though they have to give up 14.5 points, I'm still going to take Oklahoma. I think they win that one pretty big. Next game, Colorado, Oregon. This blows my mind. Oregon -21. The line is 21 on that game. I think that's absolutely insane after we saw what two shootout teams like Oregon and Texas Tech did back and forth with each other. I do think Oregon will win the football game, but there's no way I'm giving up 21 points on that one. So in that pick'em, I'm going to take Colorado plus 21. I don't think Colorado wins the actual football game, but I do think they stay within 3 scores of Oregon on that one. Next up, UCLA and Utah. This has been tough on me going back and forth. Who's playing, who's not playing. UCLA, statistically, their defense looks really good over there in the Pac-12 right now. Their offense is firing on all cylinders over there right now. People are saying some negative stuff about UCLA. However, they're doing what they should be doing. Utah, as bad as Baylor looks, and that one getting so close, that makes you worry. Now it depends on who's playing quarterback when this all goes down. However, the spread right now is Utah -6. You'd have to give up 6 to take Utah. That means I get UCLA, their offense looking good, their defense getting to the quarterback pretty good, and I get 6 points. I'm taking UCLA on that one. Ole Miss, Alabama. Lane Kiffin has stirred the pot. If you don't think Lane Kiffin did that on purpose about the Kevin Still debacle, you are absolutely crazy. Lane Kiffin is an evil genius, and he sits in his house with his dog Juice, and they look at each other going back and forth and decide who to pick on next. There's nobody that Lane likes pissing off more than Uncle Nicky. So I believe you got on this one, you've got Ole Miss plus 6.5. Alabama's hurting right now. Now, this is one of those kind of trap games because Saban, I think, tried to prove a point last week. Everybody's getting pissed off. If everybody outside is pissed off, you know how pissed off old Darth Vader Nick Saban is. And what's going to happen is he has ripped them a new one, and we've got to see how this Alabama squad responds. I think over the years, we've seen a bunch of just fiery 5-star kids come into Alabama. Saban had them set up. They were coming in to help win a national championship. I think right now in this day and age, we've got the past few years, we've had a bunch of kids come in as 5 stars, and I think the stars are getting colluded. convoluted as the years go on. We're starting to give 5 stars to people. 5-star doesn't mean what 5-star used to be. Now you see a 5-star plus, so it's kind of iffy on how we're ranking these kids nowadays. However, I do believe that a lot of the kids coming in to Alabama now think that getting to Alabama is the win, as opposed to in the older days, it was you got to Alabama, that was the privilege, was to get to Alabama, and then the rule was to win the national championship. And right now, it's kind of like the win is getting to Alabama. So we're not seeing these 5-stars that are coming out of high school turn into 5-stars in college. A lot of them are getting passed up. So I believe there's some complacency there. I don't want to call it laziness because these college programs work their butt off while they're out there. But I don't think that they're reaching their maximum potential. Therefore, I'm going to take Ole Miss plus 6 in this game, or 6.5. I'm going to take Ole Miss plus 6.5 in this game. And I think Lane Kiffin, it's going to go one or two ways. Either they really are in a downward spiral over there in Alabama, and Kiffin's just, drove a wedge in between them even more with his comments, or Alabama's going to come out so pissed off they beat Ole Miss by 30 points. So I could lose my butt on this one, but I'm feeling like I'm going to take Ole Miss plus the 6.5. Might be one you want to stay away from. Next up, Duke, UConn. Duke has to give up 21.5 points, so you would either get UConn plus 21.5 or Duke minus 21.5. Duke is playing good football. Mike Elko is the man when it comes to defense. UConn's not very good. He's going to shut UConn down. I think he's given up 2 scores at the most this season. I would be surprised if UConn got over 10 points. Duke is playing good ball offensively. I'm looking for that game to be somewhere around 35-7, 35-10, so I'm willing to give up the 21.5. I'm taking Duke minus 21.5 over UConn. Next, you got Miami Temple. Miami minus 23.5. I don't know. I honestly don't know a whole lot about Temple other than the fact that they are 2-1 playing a bunch of teams that most people haven't heard of. However, golly, 23.5 points is a lot to give up, but TVD and the boys over at Miami are playing outrageous right now on offense. Defensively, their secondary is phenomenal. I don't see how a Temple hangs with a team like Miami right now. If I had to put money on it, I'm taking Miami minus 23.5. It's one that I will not play, actually. But if somebody, forced me to pick this game, I'm taking Miami minus the 23.5 points. Next, UTSA, Tennessee. Tennessee minus 21.5. Tennessee, I really feel like right now is falling apart. Joe Milton's not the answer. Fan base is getting you got 50-50 on the fan base. Some people are saying Heupel's not the guy. Other people are saying shut up, Heupel's the man. We've got a lot of issues going on over there at Tennessee, coming off a loss to Florida that they were supposed to win. I don't know. Now, UTSA, they're one of those teams that if everything goes right, they can really scare people. And so I feel like UTSA is chomping at the bits to play this one. And I think 21.5 points is too much to give up for Tennessee. So I'm going to take UTSA not to win, but to at least cover the spread. Arkansas, LSU. LSU coming off a high. We talked about this last week. Usually when LSU gets on those high of highs, they get checked real quick. Now, we know that they came off a low to begin it. They went and they busted up on some smaller teams. Then last week, they played their butt off against Mississippi State. We're learning Mississippi State's not as good as people thought they were going to be. I still feel like Arkansas, Sam Pittman, he's pushing on that hot seat. His butt's getting a little warm. He's tired of it. KJ Jefferson's tired of it. They're pissed off that they lost to BYU. KJ's going to take this one under his own wing, and I think KJ keeps it close. I don't think you ought to give up 17.5 for LSU. I'm taking Arkansas plus 17.5 to keep that game really close. Oregon State, Washington State. This one might be a shootout. I don't know, but it says Oregon State minus 3. I feel like Washington State's playing pretty good ball right now, and I don't know. I've never been a big Oregon State fan. Even the years they were super good, I've just never saw it in Oregon State. So if I get Washington State plus 3, I think I'm going to go that route. I could be completely wrong on this one, but like I said previously, not one that I would actually play with that close of a spread, and 2 teams that I'm not dead set on exactly who they are identity-wise, but I will take Washington State minus the 3. Charlotte, Florida. Florida has to give up 28 points. Charlotte's got their own TV show now. Oh, coach over there is getting them boys fired up. They've taken a couple lickings this year, but they do have, it's a fun program to watch, and it's cool what they're doing over there. Florida should beat the brakes off of them, but Florida is now all of a sudden going to be on a really high. They just demolished Tennessee. They shouldn't have done that. They had everything going for them. They're back in the swamp. The atmosphere is just not going to be there. You do have a night game, a 6 o'clock game, but at the same time, I don't see Florida beating them by 28. I'm thinking it's a 3-score game, not a 4-score game. I'm going to take Charlotte. I'm going to take Charlotte plus 28 points in that and just say that they do get whipped pretty bad, but they keep it within 3 scores. UAB, Georgia. Georgia gives up 42.5 points. Okay? UAB's got the fighting Trent Dilfers right now. I got a buddy that used to coach the secondary over at UAB. It's a fun little program to be a part of over there. And I don't see, especially after what we saw last week, I think Beck struggles a little bit. I don't think their O-line's as good as they have been in the past. I don't think their defensive line is as good as they have been in the past. UAB's not going to have a quarterback as good as Spencer Rattler. However, I felt last week Georgia was going to hang 40 plus on South Carolina, and that didn't happen. I think UAB can stay within 42.5 points. I'm going to take UAB plus 42.5 just to cover on that UAB-Georgia game. Call me crazy, but that's my take. Texas-Baylor, Texas minus 15. I think Texas is really upset about how things went at Wyoming last week. I think Quinn Ewers, he's not even in the top 10 passers in the state of Texas for any college right now. Any Division I college, Quinn Ewers is not top 10 in passing in the state of Texas for a Division I college. He's got the moxie has to come back this game. He's going to play in this game, I think, like he played in the Alabama game. I think Texas blows Baylor out. I don't think Dave Aranda has going over there right now what he wants to have going, and Waco's a tough place to be if you're not playing good. I live in this area. There's not good talk going on around this area. People have kind of given up on the Bears, and I think Texas just absolutely demolishes Baylor this week. However, we know how Texas can be. Could be a trap game, but I don't see Baylor being good enough to even make that a trap game. Ohio State, Notre Dame, this is a big one. This is going to be everybody in the world is going to be at this one. Notre Dame 4-0, Ohio State 3-0. Ohio State gives up 3 points in this game to Notre Dame. As much as in my younger years I liked Notre Dame, I feel like Notre Dame has proven time and time again that they can make it through their cakewalk schedules at first, and then they get to a point later in the year where they really start playing people and it gets worse and worse for them, or they somehow make it to the playoffs or in the BCS era, they get up there to the top and then they just get annihilated. I think Ohio State out-athletes them and beats them by a minimum of 7 points. I don't think a field goal decides this game. So I'm going to take Ohio State minus the 3 in that game, and it's going to end the season for Notre Dame. There will be no more close to playoff talks for Notre Dame after this week. Iowa, Penn State. Iowa couldn't score on a high school team right now. I don't know what's going on. And their defense, that's usually pretty good, is giving up multiple scores a game to absolute nobodies. Somehow they're 3-0, probably because of who they played. Penn State is firing pretty good right now. I like their quarterback. Their defense is doing pretty good, but Penn State can score freaking points right now. You got to give up 15 if you want to take Penn State, but I say do that all day long. Iowa's not going to score very much. Penn State's going to score a lot because Iowa can't stop them. I'm taking Penn State by 21 to 28 points in this game. North Carolina, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's 1-2. North Carolina's 3-0. North Carolina's been kind of weird for me this year, but I do like Mac Brown, the way he gets those kids fired up. You got to give up 7 to take UNC. They're ranked number 17 right now. Pittsburgh doesn't have a ranking right now. UNC wins by at least 10. I'm taking UNC minus 7. Arizona State versus USC. Caleb Williams is pissed off right now that he keeps dropping on everybody's Heisman radar. He's not going to put up with it. What people aren't realizing is that most of the games Caleb Williams only getting to play 2 quarters because it's such a blowout that he gets taken out. Also, you have to think about every time that Arizona State has to punt it, which they're going to have to punt it a lot coming up, they've got to kick it to Zachariah Branch. Zachariah Branch has a chance. He's touched the ball 10 times this year, and 4 of those 10 times he's turned into a touchdown. 40% of the time the kid touches the ball, he's scoring. USC is a scary football team. You have to give up 34.5, but I really, really think Lincoln Riley lets Caleb Williams finish out this game, and it turns into a 50-plus to 14 kind of game, and they cover the 34.5, right there on the line, but maybe even easier. It might be a 60-14 type game. I don't know, but I think Lincoln Riley lets Caleb Williams get his stats this week, plus you're going to have the Zachariah Branch mix up in there with them also. California, Washington. Washington's a dang good football team. You got to give up 20.5 on this one, but California, they can't score and they can't kick a field goal. So even the free cheap points, I don't see them getting in this one. Washington's playing good O and good D. Washington and Phoenix, they're going to beat the brakes off of California. I don't think 20.5 is too much to give up. I really look at this one as being a 40-something to 10 type game, 40-something to, I don't know. Even if it's 48 to 21, you're still fine, and I don't see it getting any better than that for California. So I don't see California scoring over 21 points. I don't see Washington scoring less than 40 points. So I'm taking Washington all day on that one. And the last one, the biggest one for me, Auburn versus Texas A&M. I've said it once. I've said it 1,000 times. I do not think Peyton Thorne is a very good quarterback. He's not a top-tier quarterback. I know that the guys on Twitter are trying to give him all kind of love about how great he is and how much better he is than Connor Wegman. He's not. He's also got a right tackle. Posted this on Twitter today. He's got a right tackle that lines up in the backfield every single play. We're going back to the Kansas City Chiefs thing. I don't know why somebody hasn't called this yet. He's supposed to have his head in the center, at least to the belt line of the center's body. This dude's behind the butt cheek of the center every time. He looks like a wingback. Fidel Diggs on the outside, or Overton if they stay over there, they're so quick that with the amount of space given between their right tackle and our defensive end, I think we can make him miss in air, and we're going to get to the quarterback. Thorne's not a great pocket passer. He's a good runner, but he's not even a good runner thrower while he's running. Diggs is going to be the fastest defensive lineman that he's come up against yet. I think Diggs and the Ags, maybe not just Diggs, but the Ags defensive line as a whole, I think we get a minimum of 3 sacks on Thorne this week. Connor Wegman's going to do what he's going to do. Evan Stewart's going to be back. Noah Thomas is going to be back. We saw Ja'Day Walker and those guys last week. Our running game's going to be pretty strong against this Auburn defensive line. Golly, I almost called them Ole Miss there for a second. And I think with the pressure against Thorne that our secondary is going to be able to play a little bit better this week. I'm picking the game as Texas A&M 45, Auburn 21. I think Texas A&M definitely, the Aggies definitely cover the 7.5 points that you would have to give up to take them. Anyways, that's this week's picks on Sky Talk Sports, Week 4. Drop a comment below. Let me know what you think. If you're not following me on Twitter, @SkylerSports. And if you haven't clicked the subscribe button, God dang it, that's hard to say. If you haven't clicked the subscribe button on here, I can't even say button right. If you have not clicked the subscribe button on here, please press that little ringer dinger up above. Peace.